Welcome to Frequency Matters, the RF and microwave update. I'm Pat Hindle, and I'm here with my co-host Gary Lerude. In this episode, we're going to talk about the May Amplifier and Oscillator issue, and also do some more IMS 2016 coverage.
Right.
So for the May issue, we have a very interesting cover story. We went out and we asked 6 of the leading GaN amplifier companies to give us their highest efficiency design that they could find. And it was great that it came out by not on purpose. Came out 3 on the infrastructure, base station market, and 3 on aerospace and defense. So we have good examples of each. So I'm going to give you a summary, but you got to read the article to see how the design techniques were implemented. But ADI discussed an A&D application with 69% PAE at about 1.1 gigahertz. Amplion had a GaN amplifier for base stations with a 65% power added efficiency. Maycom had 75% power added efficiency, again for the base station market, and that's their GaN on silicon application. Qorvo, 60% power added efficiency for S-band radar. Sumitomo had a GaN amplifier for space applications, so they've qualified for space applications, 67% PAE at about 1.6 gigahertz. And finally, we had Wolfspeed with 70% power added efficiency in the final stage of an LTE application. So very interesting results. I mean, we're talking about very high efficiencies compared to what we were doing a couple years ago.
Right.
You know, like 30-40% was considered good, and now we're really well above the 50% mark.
Yeah, that's a great collection of companies and results, different applications. It kind of shows where the technology is today.
Yes, excellent. And how about the technical features?
So technical features, we have a couple in this issue. The first one is our friends Ulrich Rode and AJ Podar have written the first of a 3-part series on Mobius metamaterial technology. They're expanding from some of the questions and comments they got from our series last year.
Right. Yeah, there were a ton of questions. It's a very popular series.
Very popular. So this is the first of 3. And then the other one, we have an article from Morian on crystal oscillators and how you actually apply those in systems. So you may spend a lot of money on an oven-controlled crystal oscillator, and then depending on how you implement it, you may lose some performance. So I think it's a very instructive article.
Yeah, he's a very good expert from Russia, very well known.
Exactly.
And then turning to the news, I saw that the ASD reports had a market forecast for small satellite market, and they're forecasting 2.2 billion this year, and it'll go up to 5.3 billion by 2021. So that represents a growth rate of 19% over the years of that period. So very good growth like we've been talking about for the last couple years. The microsatellite segment is projected to grow the fastest, and the Asia-Pacific market is also supposed to be the fastest growing geography. So a very interesting market forecast. I really like to keep up to date on those.
Yeah, and particularly enabling that are the low-cost launch vehicles, the launches. And SpaceX recently was able to land one of their Falcon rockets on a platform on the ocean, which was quite impressive. So as that technology matures, it makes the small satellite market just really appear to be with us.
Right. What did you see in the news?
So Qorvo announced their Q4 results, and that it was a good quarter for them. They achieved $608 million in revenue total. The mobile business was $465 million. They were down slightly, but this is usually a seasonal quarter where revenue goes down, and their performance was actually better than expected. They had real strong performance from gains in the Samsung Galaxy phone, and their outlook for the coming quarter is very strong because they've got a lot of design win activity from China. On the IDP side, that business actually grew 9% in the quarter. Their wireless infrastructure piece grew 25%.
Wow.
So the wireless market, the infrastructure market, has kind of come back to historic levels before the big dip. And they announced that they have achieved some significant GaN design wins in defense and also one in the base station infrastructure market, or at least one. So it sounds like they're starting to make some good progress getting into the commercial side of that.
Well, that's good news for us in general. The market seems to be recovering.
Right. So particularly the downturn in China, I think all the earnings calls I've listened to, everybody said the market's back. So that's good news.
Great. And so we've been discussing millimeter wave applications and specifically electronically scanned arrays in some of those applications. So we have a special guest in the studio today. Bob Donahue, CEO of Anokiwave, will join us. So let's take a look at a portion of that interview. Bob Donahue, CEO of Anokiwave, joins us. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Pat.
So you were on the show a couple years ago before IMS 2014, and you kind of introduced us to Anokiwave and the trend toward millimeter wave systems and AESA architectures. Can you give us an update on what's been going on since then?
First, thank you for inviting us back. We think that actually it's been an incredible, exciting couple of years. What we see is the world is turning upside down after all. It's a small world after all. What we've seen is that it's common knowledge now that data rates have to increase by 1,000x by the end of the decade, and connected mobile units are going to go from 5 billion to 50 billion, so that's common knowledge. What's new that's just recently happened is maybe the World Mobile Congress in Barcelona in February was kind of the status pistol going off for the 5G race that's on.
Yeah, we did notice that. It was a lot of activity.
There's a lot of activity. Also, what we can see is the United Nations and the ITU in the United Nations and the FCC in the United States and world bodies are racing to open up orders of magnitude more bandwidth than we've ever seen. The last time we saw anything like this, you may not remember, was back in the mid-'80s when they opened up the bandwidth for what's now cell phones.
Right.
So those are kind of big changes, mega trends for the industry. What it means for us is that silicon has become ubiquitous now because of Moore's law at the millimeter wave frequency. So you can use not even advanced nodes. Older nodes are now useful in silicon, and these are now 300 millimeter wafers.
Right.
So they're big wafers, older nodes on depreciated factories. So silicon at millimeter waves can be extremely inexpensive. Besides that, something that's subtle that's happened is an architecture called a phased array or AESA, which has been prevalent for 40 to 50 years in the aerospace and defense field, is now starting to become more prevalent and will be the backbone of what we think is modern communications going forward.
And so IMS 2016 is coming up, and I'm sure you may have big news for there. Is there anything you can share with us on the show?
Very good question, Pat. So at the IMS 16 in San Francisco, we'll be releasing what we consider the very first silicon millimeter wave core chip for AESA applications for 5G, specifically at 28 gigahertz.
Wow.
So this is something that is new and different. We believe it's planar, it fits the lattice spacing. We're actually in pilot production at this moment on it, and you'll see it first here at Frequency Matters with Pat Hindle.
Great, thank you very much. Well, that was a very interesting talk with Bob Donahue.
Yeah.
He always has a great vision for his company, and I feel like Anokiwave is really a company that's growing very rapidly due to his leadership.
Right, they've made some amazing inroads the last several years.
Yeah. So for events, I thought we would look at the IMS 2016 exhibition floor plan because it's so large and there's so many companies, it's hard to find your way around. So let's take a look at that now. So this is the IMS 2016 exhibition floor plan in San Francisco, and as you can see, it's quite intimidating. Hundreds of companies, so it's very big.
Right.
So you have the entrance and lobby down here, and when you enter, of course, the test and measurement guys kind of dominate some of the landscape. You have Keysight Technologies here in the middle, and they're surrounded by their community with companies like Cascade and Mari, et cetera. And of course, other notable companies in the test and measurement are Rohde & Schwarz, National Instruments, that are on this side of Keysight, and on the other side, you have Anritsu and Copper Mountain, and of course, there's a host of other test and measurement companies represented. On the software side, we have Sonnet here, National Instruments, Ansys, of course, Keysight again, and also CST. And then there's a host of other COMSOL and Altar FICO and Remcom, Mychian, so there's a whole host of those too.
So if we look at the semiconductor companies, that's a very long list. We'll start with Anokiwave here. Then you have Qorvo and MACOM sort of side by side. Global Foundries is over here. And then we have NXP, we have Amplion, we have Infineon. And then if we move down to this side, we have Peregrine Semiconductor. We also have Analog Devices, Wolfspeed, and Skyworks. So they're all sort of spread out over the whole show floor. If we look at some of the broad-based suppliers, Mini Circuits and Pasternak. Mini Circuits is located right here, and then Pasternak is in this aisle over here. Talking about materials, a couple of the materials players, Isola is here, and Rogers Corporation here. And then if you're looking for cables and connectors, we have Huber-Suner that's up in this region. We have Times Microwave, which is over here. And then we also have Southwest Microwave, which has a big booth right there. So hopefully that gives you a sense of where everything is. And I think this layout is a little bit better than last year. I'm not sure I ever totally got last year's layout down.
Yeah, it was kind of like an L shape, but this
Right.
is nice and rectangular,
Right.
so I think it helps.
Exactly.
And of course, there's just hundreds of companies, so we can't name them all. So there's some of the major ones represented. Another thing I wanted to point out, the Wireless Wonders Pavilion is over here. So it's kind of around the corner, and this is where the student design competition session. Some of the workshops and STEM activities are, so you might miss that if you don't know it's around the corner. And then also we have the micro apps back here. And I wanted to let you know that on Wednesday at noon, we'll be hosting a panel session, and it's called the 5G IoT Conundrum. And so we'll be kind of comparing and contrasting the network needs of a high-speed, low-latency network versus a low-power, billions of devices connectivity type of network. So that'll be a lot of professional panelists there. It'll be led by moderator Eric Heim of Strategy Analytics. So
That's
Wednesday
good.
at noon.
Excellent.
So we hope to see everybody May 22nd through the 27th in San Francisco.
Right. It's coming up soon.
Not too long.
Right. I think that's about it for
That
this
wraps
episode.
it up, yeah.
So we want to thank you for watching, and we want to thank our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by Mini Circuits. You can find out about their products at minicircuits.com. And we're also sponsored by Anokiwave, and you can find out about the work they're doing and their products at anokiwave.com. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.